Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Sorry for not uploading in weeks. I've just been busy, but I just wanted to drop something really quickly. This is a PC that I built. It's going to be featuring an i7 4770 and a GTX 970 4GB. So the reason why I went with this pairing is because the 4th gen Intel Core were pretty much the last CPUs to feature DDR3. Yes, DDR3. And the GTX 970, all of NVIDIA's 900 series flagship cards are the last to support the current NVIDIA drivers. So they are the oldest cards that you can purchase that will still get updated as of right now. That may change when RTX 4000 series release. They might actually stop updating those drivers and cards. Hopefully not, because that would mean less GPUs that you can purchase. Less options basically when building a computer. So yeah, I just tried seeing what the 900 series GPUs like the 970 is still capable of doing today, and whether a machine like this is worth building for yourself or purchasing secondhand. And just really quickly, I just used a Yeyian case and 4th gen Intel motherboard. Oh, there's my dog there, my little doggy. I just quickly used a 4th gen motherboard. Came from I believe a DELL XPS. Nothing fancy at all. It's a pre-built motherboard. I only got it because it comes with the CPU, so it's a no-brainer, save money on the motherboard and whatnot. And then I'm using a GTX 970 Founders Edition. It is a blower style GPU, so it does run hotter. With like all blower style GPUs, they get hotter than aftermarket or OEM coolers. So just something to know if you were to get the same model as me or any blower GPUs, just know they do run hotter than normal. So with that being said, after putting this computer together, I'm gonna put up some benchmarks so you can see what this gaming PC can still do in 2022. Not all of these titles are recent, some of them are older titles around kind of the same time they released, but I will have a more up-to-date game up there. So the first game I'll be benchmarking is Hitman, the original one that was released in 2016. Just to see, I am playing all this on ultra high settings, and I will be running it in the training simulation, only because this is one of the more demanding levels in Hitman. I think because of all of the NPCs that it has to load, so it strains out the CPU quite well, and just a lot of detail in this boat because of all the NPCs, and the CPU has to pretty much place all those NPCs and have them scripted and placed there, and so just strains it out on both the GPU and CPU just to get an idea of what our numbers are. And if you could look up in the top left corner, that's where you can see the CPU and GPU load and the amount of memory being used. And currently we're under 3 gigs of memory and the GPU is maxed out. We are pretty much hovering around 60, just a little bit lower, but under it. So I changed everything to high to see if I'm able to fix and get a consistent 60. So I tweaked some of the settings, and as you can see, it kind of helps pretty much hover around the 60s. I noticed that when I look towards more of the boat with the people on it, because there's so many people in that specific area, the FPS seems to drop. But it doesn't drop that far from 60. I would honestly say it's fine. The games I'll be testing today are all AAA titles, so keep in mind they are more intense than your normal esport titles like Valorant, Fortnite, Apex. These games, although Apex is considered AAA in some aspects, these games are more graphically intense. So dropping it back down to around high and uncapping the frame rate through VSync. You can see here I'm just showing you some of the more intense scenarios. It just really depends where you are the FPS, tends to drop below 60. Worst I've gotten, and it's just around 50 or just slightly under 50 is the worst case scenario. So the next game we got here is Resident Evil 7, and as you can see in the top left corner, the GPU isn't even being maxed out. It's not because it's a CPU bottleneck, it is because we are capped at 60 FPS. So to fix that issue, I go in and go into the settings and basically uncap the frame rate, disabling the VSync. Pretty much just solves that issue. And because this is a blower style card, you can see it jump from 70 all the way up to 80 pretty instantly. But we are now maxed out on the GPU, and we are brushing over 100 FPS, and I don't think anyone's gonna complain with that type of frames in a first person. Honestly, you don't even need anything over 60 in a AAA game. I mean, it's always a plus. More FPS is always a plus because it does feel smoother, but for the average person or someone that just switched from console to PC, more than 60 FPS or just at 60 FPS is honestly more than fine, unless you're okay with settling with 30 FPS in some titles, which I will be able to show a brand new recent title struggle and some of the things you can do to hit the 60 FPS mark. But as you can see here in Resident Evil 7, we are still around the 90s, higher 80s, even with everything maxed out. So this is fine. Honestly, I don't know anyone that would ever complain about getting 100 FPS or more in any game. So to me, this is playable. Honestly, it's a pass, and the game looks so amazing and detailed, as you can see in here, and a lot of shadows. And I noticed in some of these cutscenes that are pre-rendered as well, they kind of give like a realistic touch to it. I think they use some sort of photography scanning to render some of these 3D objects. But in here, I just wanted to show the scenario inside the kitchen because this is indoors, and you can still see we're brushing over 90 FPS. So honestly, more than fine. Here in the last game we are testing is the Kenya Bridge of Spirits. I love this game because this is a very, very high quality, high detailed game. In my opinion, this is kind of like a Disney or Pixar movie being rendered in real time, and it's amazing that you get to play through something like this. I like the art style, I like the gameplay, I like the story, and honestly something like this really pegs the 970 hard, because although we were at 60 or almost at 60 FPS at the start, you can see we are down to the 40s in some instances. And honestly, I thought this would be the worst, but it drops even lower than that. So right here in combat, you can see we are in 40s, and if you do see stuttering throughout some of this gameplay, I'm sorry for that. It is because I am running these games off external hard drives. They are not on the computer. They are being ran through a external SSD that is being plugged in by a USB. So that's why whenever I change the settings or apply higher texture, the texture streaming causes the computer to just stutter just for a few seconds or moments, because it is streaming in those new textures. So, and because it's not on the SSD or hard drive in the computer, it does take time to travel through the USB. So, and just to show you, I did drop the settings down to high, thinking I would increase the FPS, but as you can see, it really does not do a difference. And now we're under the 40s, we're in the mid 30s, and like I said, this is a very detailed game. I like this game because of the art style, and has a lot of vegetation. So something like this, this game came out in 2021, so just last year. So this is a pretty recent title. It hasn't even been a year since this game came out. And as you can see, I crank it up to ultra, and the reason why I do this is to see the worst case scenario. And as you can see, it is under the 30s now, and we are not even hitting a consistent 30 FPS. It is dropping when I spam the aura, because it has to run all that blue orb around the vegetation here. So even with a 30 FPS lock, we can't unfortunately hit 30. And even dropping it down to lower settings, you're about to see I disable the FPS lock, and I drop it all the way to medium to see what kind of FPS we can achieve. And we unfortunately don't even get to hit 60. We are in the upper I would say we're in the lower 50s, mid 50s in some instances, but you know, we even get to drop below that. So it kind of fluctuates, honestly, depending where you are. But you know, in a game like this, you really don't need 60 FPS. You can honestly play it with 30 and it'd still be fine, because this game is not, you know, insanely fast paced. It's more of a story and driven game, so 30 FPS is fine. But coming from high FPS, I usually shoot for 60, and I'm gonna show you the type of workarounds you will need to probably do for, you know, these newer games now. You on a GTX 970, you know, this card is kind of more of a medium to maybe high settings at most for these newer titles. It is starting to show its age. It is, you know, the oldest game ready driver GPU. So, you know, hopefully they keep updating it so that it can have a longer lifespan, even when the RTX 4000 series releases. But this honestly seems to be the last lineup of game ready supported drivers for these 900 series GPUs, and it's unfortunate because it might have the same fate as the Kepler GPUs. Hopefully they keep it long lasting with these updates. But if you guys want to screenshot this or take notes for some of these games, because it does have 4 gigs of VRAM, you still can, you know, put the textures to ultra for most games and then sacrifice lowering the settings for the remaining of the detail settings. That seems to kind of pretty much be the sweet spot for this GTX 970. As you saw right there, I did put the textures all the way to ultra because, again, this game looks amazing, but everything else had to be sacrificed, you know, like level of detail for the anastrophic filtering and stuff like that, and some of the shadows are placed to low, which is honestly fine. I mean, it doesn't even look that bad, and I can't tell a difference. But you know, this is what it seems to be for most of these modern games, is now a medium to high range on the graphical settings for upcoming titles. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. And sorry again for uploading so late. I did just hit 100 sold gaming PCs, so I am very proud of myself. Again, if you guys want to support, please like, comment, subscribe, and go ahead and check out the socials. I will leave the links to that below. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, peace.